Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We come to you on this Sunday, the last Sunday of the year, the second to last football Sunday of the year for the regular season on the Mike Francesa channel on the Bet Rivers Network on YouTube. And you knew it. You knew it had to happen. It had to happen, and you know what the reaction is going to be throughout the metropolitan area. Forget the Jets today. They went up to Buffalo. Buffalo had a terrible game last week. Allen needed to have a decent game because of the MVP. They went in there with a makeshift offensive line. They were beat up at tackle, which was going to be a huge problem. Jets actually got off to a decent start. And then, of course, they can't convert a 4th and 1 because they're the worst 4th and 1 team of all time and the worst short yardage team of all time. And of course, they had that early run that Hall made call back because of a hold. They had those early penalties. They messed up the first couple times. They were still in the game in the red zone, and then the pass rush just destroyed Rodgers. He had no chance. They were just so overwhelmed on the offensive line, and then that was it. Game was over. Taylor comes in and gets a couple of TDs in garbage time, and that's it. So there's nothing to discuss with the Jets today. The Jets is about their future. What are they going to do with Rodgers? What are they going to do with the head coach? What are they going to do with the general manager? There's all new people coming in, and we know that. So one more week, and that's finally over. The Giant thing now takes on a life of its own. You knew this had to happen. First of all, the Colts. The Colts knew once the Chargers won that the odds of them making the playoffs were minuscule. Okay. Infinitesimal. So they sure didn't come to play today. They didn't have Richardson, who would have been much better against the Giants because the Giants can't stop the run. Although they did a decent job on the interior today against Taylor. He had decent numbers, but they stopped him enough times. I thought they did okay there. And Flacco, of course, made all the mistakes that he moved the ball and then he made all the mistakes he usually makes. The Colts had 3 turnovers and a missed field goal and a million missed tackles and give up a kick return to start the third quarter. And that was the biggest play of the game because it kept the Giants with a cushion. If the Giants had gotten behind this game, I think they would have lost. They never got behind. The 2-point conversion, even, which was a great looking play, which if Taylor holds onto the ball, he walks into the end zone. I thought if they got even or ahead, they would have beaten the Giants. But they never did. The Giants kept making plays. Neighbors kept making plays. They didn't tackle it all today, and the Giants get a win. So I'm sure more Giant fans. First of all, you can't blame the players. Their job is to play, okay? And I've been around the NFL for going on 50 years. I've been around a ton of coaches. They would slap you in the face if you told them they had to lose a game on purpose. The players feel the same way. This is their profession. You can't expect them to do anything, go out and play. But you knew that this was going to throw this into chaos now for the Giants because no longer the Giants have been talking about the number 1 pick for weeks now. Yeah, basically the talk of yesterday, this quarterback, that quarterback, the first pick. Now the Giants have 3 wins. There's a ton of teams with 3 wins. We got to get into strength of schedule, which is going to play right down to the wire. And the Giants probably going to go to Philly next week with Eagles. I'm not going to put anybody on the field. They're going to win. So they're going to, the whole thing's going to get blown here, and the Giant fans are going to go crazy. I understand that. Now, if there is a saving grace, and there really isn't, but if there is one that you could bring up, it's this. There was really not, this wasn't that you lost Troy Aikman. This wasn't that you lost Peyton Manning. This wasn't that you lost Luck. Okay, this isn't a can't miss quarterback draft. There isn't a guy at the top of the draft who is just automatic. Okay, you knew he was. They're tanking for him. There's nobody to tank for this year. Whether you liked one quarterback or the other, fine. But neither one was going to be great. There was going to be questions about anybody. And now you have utter chaos. because they have 3 wins. They're going to Philadelphia. Philly after today, and of course, look what Barkley winds up doing this year, which is obviously insult to injury. But New England's got 3 wins. Vegas has got 3 wins. Um, going on 4 wins. Tennessee's got 3 wins. Um, Cleveland's got 3 wins. I mean, so the bottom line is Chicago and Carolina have 4 wins. If the Giants win next week, they could wind up with those teams at 4. Hey, they could wind up picking 8th. I understand Giant fans are going to be nuts about this, but what are you going to do? That's the way it works. Today, Locke makes plays. I mean, the Colts were awful. I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't like they were brilliant. It was that Neighbors, when he spun, there was nobody there. Neighbors turned what should have been moderate plays into touchdowns a couple of times. So did Slayton. I mean, those guys should have been stopped. They weren't because the Colts didn't play today. They just didn't show up. It happens. They didn't show up. And the Giants had to take it out on somebody. They finally had a little fun on the field. They haven't had they've had such a miserable time here. They were jumping around and having fun, and they go on to a victory. They turn them over a couple times late. They couldn't even think of the Colts. They couldn't even get him off the field. They couldn't get him off the field, which tells you everything that you needed to know about this game today. But the ramifications are, I can hear it now. Oh, what are you doing? Yeah. You're going to hear that over and over. But it's going to get worse because they're probably going to win next week. I mean, if they go down there and play their players next week, and there's no reason for them not to, they're going to win. The Eagles aren't going to play anybody. They're going to the Eagles got some beat up people. They're tired. They're going to take the entire week off. They locked up their 2 today, and they're going to take the entire week off. That's it. So from that standpoint, hey, it is what it is. So it's your worst. I understand from that standpoint, you can't expect them to not try to win. Dable's coaching for his career. Players, Neighbors wants to put up numbers. Today he put up 100. I think he was on 171 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's a big game. He winds up with over 100 catches in his rookie year. Now I don't like the way he acts at all, and he's probably going to become absolutely insufferable. I mean, I hate to see what's coming because of the way he acts already as a rookie on a 3-win team. But and I worry about that. But what are you going to do about it? I mean, there's not much you can do about it. But he's going to put up big numbers. He's put up big numbers this year. I mean, they targeted him 9 million times. So it is what it is. The bottom line is, it is what it is. They had, he's going to wind up putting up record numbers this year in terms of targets and catches and everything else. He winds up with a huge year today. I'm sure he'll suit up next week because the Eagles aren't going to suit up anybody, and put a couple more touchdowns on the board next week or something. Locke had and for him, an amazing day today. He had a career day. You can't tell Locke not to be happy to have a career day. The guy was getting laughed out of the league. Today, what does he do? He almost puts up a perfect quarterback rating. So he has a day. And the whole thing turns into utter chaos. Okay? Utter chaos. You can't secure these things. That's the way it works. I know they're going to be upset, but tell me, what quarterback were you that crazy about to begin with? So what does it mean for them next year? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with their. I got a feeling they're going to keep the guys. I felt all along they were. I feel like they're going to. I don't think they wanted to make changes anyway. Now, I didn't know if they were going to keep the GM and get rid of Dable. I think Dable was more in trouble than the GM was. Um, I think they're both going to stay. The problem is they're going to have to go out and get a quarterback now for the short term. Even if they draft one, they're going to be drafting down now. Now, maybe they could trade up and get one of these quarterbacks. What, you're going to play him automatically, or you're going to sign a veteran and then let him play later in the season? I don't know how they're going to do it now, but they're not going to have a great team next year. That's all there is to it. It doesn't give you a lot of hope. I mean, you don't even know if the franchise quarterback's here now that you're hoping to develop. And what are you going to do? Sign a journeyman, bring him in for a year? So it doesn't give you a lot of stuff to sink your teeth into after this deadly season. You don't know if you can start up if you're a Giant fan right now. That this was rock bottom and we know we're getting the first pick and now we can start up. Now you don't know that. And that's going to tick off a lot of Giant fans. As far as the Jets, we know they're moving on. The question was, Rodgers, hey, today was going to be a tough game for them with that offensive line against the Bills. Bills don't like the Jets. Bills needed to lock up the two the way things broke this week. They needed to have a better showing than they did against the Pats the other day. And they roughed up Rodgers. He didn't have a chance to really throw the ball anywhere. And it was that kind of day. So there was not much you can do about it. Really. There really wasn't much you could do about it. And of course they made the same mistakes that they always make. I mean, it's such chaos. It really is. So let's see what they put together. Let's see what their decision making is. Same thing from the Giants. Same thing for the Jets. But obviously, we took a real twist and turn in the road today with the Giants winning this game. That changes things dramatically. Now, two big games today. 4 o'clock, the Browns are playing against the Dolphins. No Tua, bad weather. Who cares? Now, the other game should be a really fun game. Remember, the Vikings have a heck of a 2 weeks here. If they can beat the Packers, which will not be easy because the Packers are good, and next week play the Lions, they could be the number one seed. I'm going to discredit the Vikings here. I'm going to show the Vikings no respect here. So if you're a Viking fan, you're going to be ticked at me. I think right now there are 3 teams in each conference that can win the Super Bowl. I think in the AFC, it is Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo. And in the NFC, it is the Lions, the Eagles, and the Packers. I'm not putting the Vikings in there. Now, the Vikings, if they win the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have to apologize. I don't think they'll do that. If they do that, like I said, I have to apologize. But right now, that's how I see it. I told you about 8 weeks ago, there were 2 teams that I thought were going to make a charge on this season. The Ravens were one, and Packers were the other. And I think both have. I think dealing with that Baltimore offense is going to be awful. And since they made the personnel moves in the secondary, they've been much better against the pass. They're a very well coached team. On the other side, the Packers have gotten better and better. And Love is an extremely dangerous guy with a lot of weapons and now a big time back. That game today, with all those weapons both ways, is going to be decided by which one of these backs has an impact on the game. If Aaron Jones does, I think it'll be big. If Jacobs does, I think it'll be big. So I think the one who has an impact from the running back position will win that game today. Won't be one, I think, with a lofty passing game. I think it'll be won by which one can run the football. And I'm looking forward to it. It just started, and I'm very much looking forward to it, very much. And then you got a big game tonight because Tampa beat up on Carolina today. I mean, Carolina, when they lost Hubbard yesterday, you knew that meant they were in big trouble as far as they weren't going to be able to keep the ball enough. They weren't going to have a balanced attack today. And against Tampa, that was going to be a problem. When you got a good defensive coach, and he is, and he's got a one-dimensional squad because their Hubbard, who had a great year, is out, that was a big problem. Hubbard and a couple of their other key guys were out today, and that was going to be a problem. So now thinking they're both going to win next week because they have easy games, the Falcons have to beat Washington tonight to make the playoffs. So that's going to be a fascinating game. And then right now, this Minnesota game is going to be a terrific, terrific ball game. Now let me get off the subject for a second. I just see the breaking news that former President Jimmy Carter has passed away at the age of amazingly 100. Um, I don't know if he's the first president to ever make 100. I would think he probably is, but I don't know that. Don't swear me to that because I don't know if that's true, but I think it is. Um, Carter, history hasn't been great to Jimmy Carter. He was not a great president. I'm not trying to disparage him in any way. Remember, you were coming off Watergate. The United States, the country felt that Washington was dirty, corrupt. They had had enough of career politicians, and Nixon was the ultimate career politician. I mean, he had been in Congress. He had been a two-time vice president. He ran for president in 60. He ran for governor in 62. He lost in 60. He lost in 62. He came back and won the presidency. He came back and won it again, and then came Watergate. When he resigned the office and Ford pardoned him, it finished Ford. Ford had to pardon him to get the job. But Ford knew that the weight of pardoning him was going to cost him the election, and it did. So you got a guy who was an outsider, who was a soft-spoken, very bright man, a farmer from Georgia, who had no ties to Washington, who was as honest as they come and as clean as a whistle. Was brought, won the presidency, came in. He was an honest man. He was a good man. In his life, he did a lot of good things after his political career was over. So there's a lot of nice things to say about this man. He was a good man and a very bright man, but he was not an effective leader, and he was not a good president. It's just the way it is. Some guys are, some guys aren't. And obviously, we moved away from him, and then the next wave was the Reagan wave. But here you had a guy who basically at that time stepped in to try to heal the country. Some things didn't work out for him. We had a terrible malaise in the country. We had terrible inflation. The hostage crisis haunted him, and it wasn't a great presidency. So, but he lived a very long life. He was a very honorable man, a very distinguished man, a very bright man, and he had a great life. And he lived to be 100. So Jimmy Carter passes at the age of 100 years old. We're going to do something in a couple of days for the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day for those college playoff games and updates some NFL stuff. If I don't speak to you until after it's the new year, let me wish you a very, very happy and healthy new year. If I'm not going to talk to you until after New Year's, wish you a very happy New Year's, and I'll see you in the new year. But I do wish you a very safe and happy holidays for the next couple of days, and a very happy and healthy new year. We'll see you later.